associates, the ghosts and goblins, who were very fearful, were born of the other wife of Bhuta. Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur comments that Bhuta had two wives. One of them, Sarupa, gave birth to the 11 Rudras, and the other wife gave birth to the associates of the Rudras known as the ghosts and hobgoblins. Om Gana Timranandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshramilitam Hena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Rama. Good morning, everyone. I am feeling so lucky to be able to attend morning program and share Bhagavatam class with everyone just here in the Association of Devotees. So, and I've been feeling that way the past couple of days. So, thank you all. Your association and presence makes everything more tasty. So, in regards to these verses, so long list of basically the dynasty, which happens intermittently throughout the Bhagavatam that we hear this. Nice long list of, who's coming from who like that. I remember when I started reading the Bhagavatam, don't remember what canto I hit. I think I said this in class, but I was like, all right, I need to know what's going on. I guess it's some conditioning from like AP European history or something like that, okay, I'm gonna be able to figure out who's connected to who and who, well, in European history, it's more like who, which cousins, like, had some affair and this and that, and what happened from there, and who killed the other one, like that. So, but I tried with Bhagavatam. I'm like, I'm gonna draw a whole family tree, and then at a certain point, it just gets so crazy. And then I remember flipping to the back of, I don't remember what canto it is, and I don't know if it's in all the Bhagavatams, but it was like a whole, just a whole family tree of like all these dynasties and everything. I'm like, oh, well, I guess it's not a waste of time because it's related to the Bhagavatam, but still, I'm like pretty puffed up that I'm thinking, I'm going to be able to like figure all this out because Bhagavatam is so beyond our conception. You know, uh, Bygone ages, Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, it's just the lifespans of people, the amount of children they could give birth to, the power that they had is so inconceivable to us. And even in Kali Yuga, 5,000 years, we don't even have an accurate account of that history in terms of dynasties. And I mean, we have it, but, modern society, scientists, sociologists like that don't have all the information. They don't have all the accurate accounts. A lot of it is just speculation, or they find some evidence of, oh, we found remains of a human being that's, thousands of years old, and they actually look like a human being. They're not like a ape skeleton. Well, this doesn't tally with, the current narrative of what took place in history. So we have to somehow or other discredit it, sweep it under the rug, or come up with some alternative explanation so as not to rock the boat and, people lose their funding, all that kind of stuff. So anyway, we're so lucky to have access to accurate knowledge, real knowledge that's not fraught with mistakes or based on someone's imperfect senses, or delivered in a way that's meant to cheat, actually. And, modern history books, I remember in sometime in high school that, there's been so many like revamping of the history books as things become more like, what's politically correct, who was underrepresented in the past, who was overrepresented in the past, like that. So I remember I had a history teacher, I think in 10th grade or something, in US history, and in the textbook, the Boston Tea Party, it was like I can't remember his name, but anyway, it was like the first person to die in the Boston is that what no, Boston Massacre in that square. Um, First person to die in the Boston Massacre, where like, yeah, some American civilians were, I think the storyline is like they were throwing snowballs or something at the British soldiers, and then the British soldiers opened fire, or something like that. But the first person to die was he just so happened to be African American, or like so the story goes. And so they put that account, like a whole snapshot of like, who is this person? What do we know about him? And they put him in the history book. And I remember my history teacher saying like sometimes he'd just really say things like they were, and he's like, yeah, there's actually no in a sense, like that this was this guy's significance is that he just happened to be the first one to get shot, but because they're trying to rewrite the history books to be more like inclusive, they just kind of like cherry pick like random minority people and just like put them in, even though it's like, yeah, for so long they just like brush all that under the rug, influential women, let's say, or influential Native Americans or African Americans or something like that. So it's just like they just keep rewriting the history books based on what is palatable for people and what's tallying with, the current conceptions of how things should be, which we know is changing all the time. And it's increasingly getting faster and faster. Like even within the past 4 years, let's say, between one presidential election and the next, there's uh, there's been so much change with like yeah, I mean so much, all kinds of things. It's just like it's getting exponentially like changes, and with social media and things like that. Okay, what's like politically correct, what's not, what's being sensitive to others, what's being patronizing, so it's like they're gonna have to constantly rewrite the history books. And the history books are being written not by brahmanas, but by business people. So we can see that, in the Vedic system, something like that would not happen. There's so much confusion and um, clashing of varnas in a way, or people just in the wrong, trying to act in the wrong role, in the wrong varna. So then it really wreaks havoc on society. So if you have businessmen in the field of knowledge, then naturally the presentation is going to be skewed and adulterated. I was thinking, well, I was going to talk about this in this class. I wasn't planning to talk about it yet, but just I really have seen very evidently that something Urmila Matsuji talks about, because most people know, she has the book Career Dharma, and goes around giving these seminars to both outreach seminars and to devotees. Yeah, about being peacefully or rightfully or productively engaged, primarily in one's natural line of work. So, and she explains, which I found so nice and so apparent in society, she explains what happens whenever you have this crossover of, yeah, somebody that's actually meant to be in a different occupation is engaged in, yeah, a whole other field of occupation. So, for example, I'll give an example. She calls like, instead of saying Shudra, she'll say artist. So, or that includes also like tradespeople. Basically, the mood is like, well, the mood of all of them is serving, but like just kind of being, yeah, satisfied doing some artistry or labor work like that, and making that one's contribution. They're not necessarily trying to like expand things like a business person would be, or like somebody in military or government might be trying to. So anyway, my family, both my dad and my brother are musicians, and my brother's well, I guess they're both professional musicians, but that's like his full-time job. He's like, yeah, going on tour with this one and that one. And he definitely, I mean, I asked him this just to confirm, but he definitely is like in it for the craft. He's been playing drums since he was, I don't know, 10 or something. And he just loves it. Like he would do it every day, to my great annoyance if you're trying to take a nap and you give a 10-year-old drum set. But anyway, he's happy with it. So he yeah, anyway, so he's an artist by nature, and he's just satisfied with the craft, and he's just satisfied in his heart if he can share that with other people. Um, but the way any field of artistry works nowadays, whether it's you know poetry or acting or music, writing, whatever it might be, is that you're forced to, in order to make ends meet, to go into a business person's profession. And it really, for those who are actually like naturally artists, it really like kills the, I mean, soul, so to speak. But it really like crushes them, and there's just this internal tension of like, I want to be able to produce. I mean, you can hear so many famous musicians talk about this as well. Like, I want to produce music that's true to me, but I'm beholden to, Universal or whatever the rest is, because those people are business people and they want to make money. So then you're in a compromised situation as an artist, or you're just like, okay, great, I'm now just another, cog in the wheel of just making money, and I'm not even saying, expressing myself, saying what I want to say. So this is just one example. This is a long example, but of whenever there is no proper varnashram dharma in society, I mean, even materially, people are just completely dissatisfied, and they really can't put their finger on why. I mean, so many things along with that. It's just Kali Yuga, and sinful activities rampant. But I know a lot of devotees here have been speaking about the importance of varnashram dharma, and this is just one aspect. And also, when people aren't acting properly according to their field of work, there's can be so much exploitation that happens. Like I just gave the example of, if you have a business person, or even like a diplomat, somebody in government that's now in charge of the field of ideas, as she calls it, the Brahminical field, then information is going to be skewed. Results of, let's say pharmaceutical studies, things like that, the truth isn't going to be given. It's going to be what's the desired outcome, so we can either make money or, yeah, just influence the situation. So it has very detrimental effects. And likewise, though, from the other side is like, oh, people have this conception of business people that, well, they're deceitful or they have to cheat. Like, but even Prabhupada says, in Bhagavad Gita, that essentially the business person has to lie in order, like tell some lies in order to make a living. That's just the nature. Like, if he said, this is exactly how much it costs because this is exactly how much I bought the materials for, then he's not going to make any money and things aren't going to expand. But let's say you have a brahmana, someone in the field of ideas, in the field of business, then things aren't going to expand because they're by nature they're just truthful and self-satisfied. Like, they don't have so much of that impetus. So the point is, or how it relates, is that we're hearing about this whole list of dynasties, and it's actually very nice to hear about, all these powerful personalities and how that power is actually being preserved through the line of, offspring like that. And that's kind of pervertedly reflected in today's world is, okay, maybe you have some like Kennedys or Rockefellers, um, like that, where, okay, to some degree, power is preserved, but that power is usually, fraught with corruption, like that. And then beyond that, beyond a couple of families that have, so much influence, it's becoming rarer and rarer that somebody actually like takes pride in their family line, I am Smith, I'm a Johnson, I'm this, that. Horrible. Yeah, so it's becoming quite rare. People don't even want to be associated with their families anymore because they're, yeah, they feel so traumatized basically. Um, Like, well, I guess, yeah, my uncle, he was nice. He was also an alcoholic. He was like, or yeah, this, that, or the other. So people, there's not really pride in the family line, nor is there Shakti being preserved in the family line, in contrast to what we're reading about today. So yeah, we shouldn't just like try to, skip this part or something. It's very important. And as my Guru Maharaj often quotes, is that every syllable of Bhagavatam is saturated with Krishna praying, whether we know we're getting better. And this association with Krishna, and then also association with Srila Prabhupada. So, yeah, I mean, and as we consistently read about, is that those one isn't born into one can't be a Brahmana by birth, for example. One has to demonstrate actually the qualities. But if one is born in a family of Brahmanas, then some maybe better facility might be offered, or some kind of predisposition might be there, just like if one is born in a family of lawyers, for example, then they're already kind of set up for like, oh, it might be kind of easy to be trained up as a lawyer, but it's not just a given that, okay, well, he was born of a wife lawyer and a husband lawyer, therefore he's just like, what's it like, he passes the bar. That would be also create havoc, which we've seen as the caste system in India. The perverted, reflection of our Varnashram Dharma has caused such havoc. Um, yeah, so it's really nice. And going back to the point of like Bhagavatam giving us such a clear recounting of history that's not skewed, is, we're getting information of this whole dynasty, which even modern, sociologists or historians really, like I was talking about European history, they can't even give an accurate account of, the dynasties 500 years ago, because it's like I mean, just a lack of, yeah, being able to keep down sufficient and accurate information, but then there's so many affairs and inbreeding and this, that, and the other, and then it's like, oh, we found out this person is actually related to somebody completely different. So, yeah, even 500 years ago, we can't even have accurate recounts of history, let alone the Bhagavatam is like, giving, I mean, millions of years back. So, yeah, previously people by and large, they were proud of their family. They wanted to carry on this legacy. They felt some obligation toward their family. And also they felt some obligation to, withhold the pride of the family, withhold the, well, like I said, the legacy of the family. But that's, like I said, in Kali Yuga, people are more embarrassed by and don't really want to be associated with their families, or feel really no obligation. And yeah, anyway, I won't go more into that. But so, oh yeah, I was thinking about this one example actually of what I'm saying about like people were, just like proud of their family line and proud of like maybe the charitable works that they did, or how they ruled so nicely, or the intellect in service to the Supreme Lord. Is in the I was thinking of in Krishna book, King Regu, that turned in a lizard body, and then Krishna um, liberated him out of that lizard body. Was he was saying like, I think I'm trying to remember if he introduced himself to Krishna first, because in the pastime of Muchakunda, Prabhupada makes the point that one of like a inferior kind of personality, it's etiquette that they introduce themselves first to the superior personality. So I'm like, I think King Nagari did that. But anyway, he's saying, if if you've ever studied a long list of people who did charitable works, you might have seen my name on the list. And it's like his way of saying indirectly, like, oh, I do so many charitable works. So yeah, I just thought of that example. I'm like, that one is always kind of funny to me because I heard Dave Marie Tomaraj explain it like that. It just like brings a pastime to life, like all these kind of like subtleties of how things are said. And whenever he said that, I'm like, oh, that makes the pastime even more relishable. So yeah, I mean, yes, we're reading about all these dynasties in the Bhagavatam, and then as devotees, we are a part of the Achyuta Gotra, so Krishna's family line. Um, and so I wanted to read actually from this verse that Prabhupada mentions this topic in Bhagavatam 1:1-7. So we can be very proud of our family line. um, Yeah, coming from, Krishna is the supreme father, friend, well-wisher, and benefactor. And then you can be doubly proud if you were born into a family of devotees and your relatives are devotees. So that you get a 2-for-1. But even if we weren't born in families of devotees, we can feel a lot of pride in our just being in contact with Krishna now, and by extension, being well part of Krishna's family, and kind of in a way, as our relatives are, great devotees, great personalities like Narada Muni and Prahlad Maharaj, and like that. So in a way, it's like, you know, um, because we're in that family, it's like they're like our relatives, Uncle Prahlad. But yeah, even within more of, I guess, what we might consider the immediate context is just the devotees around us too, that feeling pride, feeling proud to be a part of the devotee family that we have around us, and yeah, just taking pride even in their, devotional achievements or their devotional service that we see, or being proud of being part of a community that's so supportive, or contributing so nicely. So yeah, we can have pride in our devotee family in so many ways, or seeing, glorifying how they uphold the standards so nicely, or how they're exhibiting, balancing raising a family and working, and other types of devotional service so nicely, still chanting like that. There's a lot of different ways. If we have the eyes, if we're scanning to see things to admire about devotees and be grateful for, then actually there's so many ways in which we can start to use this like natural inclination to have pride in the family line, and apply that in our devotional family. So this is Bhagavatam 1:17. Yani Veda Vidam Shreshto Bhagavan Badarayana Anecham Munaya Sutta Paravara Vido Vidu. Sorry, I'm trying to make sure this is the right verse. Is it? Maybe I wrote down the wrong one. Anyway, I'll just look it up real quick. Hmm. Okay, well, that was, yeah, totally the wrong verse, but anyway. Oh, 1:1. Okay, anyway, it's in Canto 7. So this is Prahlad Maharaj. So, O my friends, O sons of demons, everyone, including you, the yakshas and rakshasas, the unintelligent women, shudras and cowherd men, the birds, the lower animals, and the sinful living entities, can revive his original eternal spiritual life and exist forever simply by accepting the principles of Bhakti Yoga. Purport. The devotees are referred to as Achyuta Gotra, or the dynasty of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord is called Achyuta, as indicated in Bhagavad Gita. Senior Upayor Madhye Ratam Stapaya Mechita. The Lord is infallible in the material world because he is the supreme spiritual person. Similarly, the jivas, who are part and parcel of the Lord, can also become infallible. Although Prahlad's mother was in the conditional state and was the wife of a demon, even yakshas, rakshasas, women, shudras, and even birds and other lower living entities can be elevated to the Achyuta Gotra, family of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the highest perfection. As Krishna never falls, when we revive our spiritual consciousness, Krishna consciousness, we never fall again into material existence. One should understand the position of the Supreme Achyuta Krishna, who says in Bhagavad Gita, Janma karma chime divyam evam yoveti tatvataha tyakvideham punarjanma naiti mameti sarjuna. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains to my eternal abode, O Arjuna. One should understand Achyuta, the Supreme Infallible, and how we are related with him, and one should take to the service of the Lord. This is the perfection of life. Srila Madhvacharya says, Achyutatam Chutivarjana. The word Achyutatam refers to one who never falls to this material world, but always remains in the Vaikuntha world, fully engaged in the service of the Lord. So, in the same way that, our caste is not determined by birth, but we can be born into an environment that maybe supports that varna or that line of work. In the same way, we're in the society of devotees, we're in the family of Krishna. So we have all facility actually to become devotees, but we also have our own parts to play in that it's not just a given, that, okay, well, if you're, let's say, born of devotees or, living in the society of devotees, that, you don't have to do anything and you'll just automatically become a devotee, but it is definitely easier. Like I said, in the same way that if you're born of two lawyers, that doesn't mean you already passed the bar. You have to put in some effort, but you can avail yourself all the facilities. So I was remembering while reading that purport from the Bhagavatam, 7.754, that I don't remember what I was speaking to Devamarita Maharaj about, but it seemed unrelated, but he just said, just that with devotees, like we're a family and we need each other. And I don't remember. I think it was so early on. I'm like, was I complaining about somebody? I don't think I would have been at that point. Still like everybody's an angel. But maybe I was just saying something like about uh that there's just swimming in the flood of devotional service, like being in the ashram, being in Anjalan specifically. I'm like, whew, there's a lot. Like, how do we become expert swimmers? And he's like, man, everybody asks me that. Like everybody at Anjalan asks the same thing. Like, oh my God, we're drowning. How do we swim? And then something he responded, and then I believe he said that about, devotees, we are a family and we need each other. Um, and that was so nice for me to hear because I could really feel his conviction in that, like that he's, um, so humble and just admitting to this, like, you know, I also need devotees, where it's like, they're just like sannyasi traveling around, they're so self-sufficient and independent like that. But as I've heard him make the point also, like, sannyasis also need association, and usually things go wrong when they think that they don't, or any devotee thinks that they don't. It could be brahmachari, and you can isolate yourself in the ashram. So it's more of a matter of the hearts, letting devotees in, revealing the mind, practicing the six loving exchanges. So yeah, anyway, the fact that he said that always really stuck with me that and you know he's consistently had this theme where like if there's any, even like the slightest whiff of like, you might be bringing something to him that's like slightly negative about a devotee, or just you think it's factual, but it's like, does he really need to hear this? He'll just immediately like, boom, I'm not going there. Let me glorify this devotee. Even if you're like, what? This person's like the most difficult person in the world. Everybody knows that. And he's just like, but actually, they're this person is very sincere, or this person actually has a very big heart. So yeah, it's a symptom of an advanced devotee. I think Bhakti Charamar has some lecture series on this, of like going through these different stages of, okay, the bottom rung is like you just see the faults, and then next is like you mainly see faults and you see a little bit of good, and then it's kind of half half, and then you mainly see good but still a little fault, and then the top is just you're just while still being practical and yeah, pragmatic about things, that you're really just seeing the good. So yeah, anyway, it's just nice to observe that in devotees, and it's really like a pretty instantaneous example of their advancement whenever they're both, yeah, not naive, but also are choosing to really see the good in others, especially in other devotees. So let me just see if I had anything else to discuss. But I love to hear also everybody's realizations about this being in the devotee family, and yeah, being proud to be in the devotee family, needing other devotees, um, having pride in the services and qualities of the devotee, of other devotees, or the devotees around us. Um, so there was one other thing I wanted to talk about. Okay, actually, I'll probably just take, well, maybe I will end with this. So, yeah, just going back to this point, because I spoke quite a lot about Varnashram Dharma, and also yesterday we were talking about Sri Dharma and Varnashram Dharma also, um, is that, you know, because we're in the Achyuta Gotra, it's, you know, Prabhupada very much wanted Varnashram Dharma established. At the same time, it's like there are seeming contradictions on this point. Like even yeah, in class, I was thinking yesterday, like it seems paradoxical that on the one hand, it's like, yes, sometimes Prabhupada is writing in the Bhagavatam about Sri Dharma, and then he's also speaking about, um, you know, our highest occupation, you know, beyond just like the body. Although then it's like that's taken into account. So it's like a lot actually to wrap the mind around. And then we see Prabhupada's example of you know, like Agari had brought up about, you know, why would why would women be on the street if they're following street dharma? Why would they be on the street like approaching people? And then I was thinking of how Prabhupada said in the letter to one female book distributor that you know they should be like a lamb at home, lion in the chase. So that's not exactly street dharma, as conventionally, you know, thought of. But then on the other hand, you know, sometimes Prabhupada's like writing letters, things like that. You know, you have such a good husband, follow your husband. So it's very individual. And anyway, I was just meditating on the fact that, okay, as devotees, there is Varnashram Dharma, and then Prabhupada also makes the point, and I also hear David Maritza Maharaj make this point all the time that, you know, but it's beneficial and it's nice to operate in that system and demonstrate it to others and set up a whole society, a whole world that's based on that. At the same time, devotees with guidance are not necessarily confined to that. Not that we're all avadutas, but that, you know, if one needs to take up the occupation of a brahmana, at least in an emergency situation or in the short term, or one needs to take up Vaishya occupation or whatever it might be that's not necessarily your nature, that one can do it by the, mercy of Krishna, by the empowerment of the spiritual master. I mean, I'm sure we all have, or maybe we can even give examples of things. There's so many things we've been able to do by the mercy of the spiritual master. Even just chanting 16 rounds every day is like, yeah, and following the regular principles, or even doing one of those things, even half of those things is like by the mercy of, of the spiritual master and Krishna, because otherwise we'd never be able to control our senses like that or have that determination, no way. But it'd be nice to hear devotees' reflection on some kind of service they'd be able to do, or they've been able to do, really just by the empowerment coming from the spiritual master. Maybe it was his specific instruction to you. Yeah, I always find that nice. For me, it's been so many things. Book distribution, definitely, in terms of, yeah. And then also cooking, because I was just like, man, in Philadelphia, I was like, no way, I don't want to waste my time cooking like this. I'll do it, but I'm just gonna, I'm not, don't put me on it any more than I need to be like that. But then, uh, I got to New Zealand, and David Meets Maharaj was like, become a devastating cook, become a devastating cook, become a knockout cook. How are you cooking like this? And just encouraging me whenever I would cook. And yeah, I'm just like, wow, next thing you know, I'm not going to say I'm a good cook, but at least I learned from others how to do it in kind of a short amount of time. And if I look back, I'm like, wow. And now I'm like into it too. And I'm like, wow, that's really by his mercy that he just like took, helped me do like a 180, even though I was like, but my identity is not such. And then, but, if you identify more, I guess, with my identity is to try to please this person, at least at times we can adopt, like we try to adopt that identity, sometimes very hard, then we can actually do like things that we would have considered completely impossible for us. So yeah, anyway, my point is that yes, through Krishna consciousness, through the empowerment of the spiritual master, we can do things, adopt occupations, all kinds of stuff that we would not normally be able to do. I mean, so many devotees here. I was just thinking about, because I was with Dhruva Maharaj the other day, and what were we doing? Something like loading the tractor and this and that. And I was just like, I just forgot that he like got here and didn't know. I mean, he said, he's like, I didn't know how to do anything. And I was just watching him, and I'm like, how? Like you would never know that ever. But I was like, oh, he grew up like this. And I'm like, wait a second, no, he didn't. He had to learn all of this. Oh, I was thinking he's like putting the chains on to like hold the tractor down. I was just doing it like so quick and so like knew exactly what he was doing. And I'm like, imagine that he got here and he just would have had to. I mean, I don't know how he did it, but like probably weren't that many YouTube videos back whenever 2007 or whatever it was. But yeah, even like maybe had to learn from the other farmers around here, or go to different places, different farms within ISKCON, or I don't know, probably a combination of all those things. But I was just like, wow, you have to be so humble also to do that. I mean, can you imagine the humility it takes to just be like my spiritual master, um, or even after my spiritual master has left his body, this person that I'm taking, shiksha guidance from is asking me or advising me, encouraging me to do this. And I have not no, but like by and large, I'm like, do I have the material skill to do this? So you really have to, be humble. And then also there's so much surrender that comes with that, and surrender to Krishna. And I'm sure a lot of prayer was also involved. Um, yeah, to just be like, okay, well, like Prabhupada, on the Jaladuta, just make me dance how you like. And then so much empowerment has come from that. I mean, look at this place. It's very obvious. So, anyway, I'll just stop there. I wanted to make that point. Do you have any reflections?
I'll just wait until anyone has ones that are answering what you addressed, because he wanted some answers about, you know, examples of when you've been empowered to do seva, and I don't have any examples.
Or just reflections on, the well, anything you have. I was just thinking it's so I'm relishing like talking about the family of devotees and appreciating devotees. But you can
This is work and people can't hear me.
oh
Clarifications.
yeah.
You say that just because both of your parents are a lawyer doesn't mean you automatically pass the bar. And similarly, the Brahmana caste doesn't make you a Brahmana, and being born or in a society of devotees doesn't make you a devotee. So,
Mm, well, I've heard that at a certain point it's like you have to make a decision for yourself, right?
yeah.
Like, so it's like, I don't know all the intricacies of like, isn't it like also at a certain point, like kids start to accrue karma or something like that? So I don't know if it's like a similar situation. Maybe you have some more realization about that. I don't know that much about like, raising a devotee child or all the intricacies of that. But I just know that in general, it's like, um, even I guess even with the example of a lawyer, right? Like they could train you up so much where it's like, okay, I guess, or to be an intellectual, maybe that's easier. They could train you up so much as a kid, but once that kid starts to get that, like, oh, I have options actually, then at that point it's like, oh, but they actually are going to have to choose that this is what they want. So, yeah, I, what's your thoughts on that?
Jeez,
Yeah.
I heard that before too. I think that was really good example about the bar. And that it was helpful to hear that thinking we can understand the inconceivable, talking about that. And then also that devotees are a family and we need each other. And when you were talking about pride, were you saying that it's good to be proud of being a devotee? Yeah,
I think
that's
so.
how we use pride in devotional service. I've heard that.
Yeah. Yeah, like or what's that like one real fame basically is to be known as a good devotee. I mean, not that we're like wanting that, but anything can be used, you know? And I find it's also nice to be, just like you can be proud of like even materially, proud if your brother accomplishes something or your dad or your mom. So it's like similarly, we can use all that same stuff and look around, whether it's our actual devotional, father, mother, just the devotee family, and be like, wow, I'm so proud. Look at you overcoming Maya. Okay.
That day we just when we said he didn't sannyasis in the association. Is that
Oh yeah, he's made that point. And he says that he definitely like makes it um like he didn't say public, but like makes it obvious in a way or attempts to demonstrate that to his disciples that they see him associating, like it's visible that they see him associating with his sannyasi God brothers in general. Um, yeah, sannyas or not, because he wants to stress like this is a very important thing. No man's an island, especially in Krishna consciousness. What do you think about that?
Oh no, I agree. Yeah, that's powerful. That even this as association too. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, 5 minutes. Anybody else have thoughts, realizations? I mean, you can ask questions too, but I just thought it'd be nice to hear people's yeah, personal okay, what if I came skipping in? Chatting with someone. Here, can you I don't know why only Jonah's warped in in the mic, but sauce. Realizing and right and how was I doing research and knowledge about like business and cooking services. This was strategies with full person and yeah, I guess it's just really nice that you should like and then we'll get class, right? Any questions? What other service? I feel like you've done so many services that probably took a lot of empowerment, but only I mean, you're managing your book distribute, like, ashram, you do everything. Yeah. Um, and, yeah, and, honestly, one of my biggest cooking management was probably the biggest was
It's okay. I'm all right.
By yourself.
I don't know.
No, it's true. That's why in Philly called the ashram, named it Titikshava Karnika Ashram because he's like, I know this requires a lot. Yeah, actually, that's such a good point, is that we're like, oh, I did this big thing, or I'm so successful in this service, therefore it's like the mercy of the spiritual master. It's like, it's also just the mercy to be able to like, um, yeah, just have determination to like, okay, I'm gonna stick it out in the society of devotees and not let, there's always gonna be like some interactions that aren't tallying with our sense gratification, but to just like ride that out
Yeah.
is a good.
Yeah, especially if yeah, just remembering the connection with the spiritual master. Like I remember in the ashram there was these Buddhists who had like frequent contact with their spiritual master. And I remember, it's like I never get text messages from him. But then just being like, oh, his mercy is not like
Mm-hmm.
this, it's like fully open to everybody. So yeah, it's working.
And that's so true.
Yeah, exactly. Show proper. Yeah.
Yeah, and just setting us up to so that he's like made the point to me so many times. He's like, well, now finally I don't have to worry about you. So it's like it's actually I've been meditating on that the past 2 years of like the best gift we can give to the spiritual master is our steadiness. Like, which at first I guess, well, maybe some devotees realize that at first, but I'm like, oh, that didn't hit me until later on. So yeah, really good. Okay, 1 minute. Anybody else have anything online? Or one thing you've been empowered to do by the mercy of the spiritual master. And even if, that also means, well, obviously we have one senior devotee on here that is a direct disciple of Srila Prabhupada, but if you're not, even if you're not initiated, by a current initiating guru, then Srila Prabhupada is also empowering all of us.
I think even things that we think we can do, even if it's something we think we can do, that's still the empowering.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So like me doing art as a child.
I love this topic. Okay, there's the conch. Thank you, everyone. Trish, Bhagavatam ki jai. Hi.
Thank you.